Hello everyone, this is Griffin Station back here with another Jump Force video, and in this video I wanted to talk about this battle page because there's been a lot of stuff that's been added to this, and I know a lot of people can't read Japanese or can't understand it, and so I want to be able to tell you all what's on these battle pages because it's probably going to be useful for the upcoming beta. So first off, we start off with the basic rules. And it basically says on the right here, Jump Heroes 3 versus 3 fighting action game. We know that. That's pretty standard for this game. A battle action game where Jump Heroes fight in teams of 3. Create your dream team and switch between characters to initiate combos never before seen in the original series. So it's basically saying, you know, in most fighting games that are based on anime, you don't get to see these characters come together. Well, in Jump Force, you can. And that's honestly one of the biggest selling points of this game. So if we continue going down, we have this section, which is talking specifically about teams. And it says, team formation and strategy holds the key to victory over on the right here. And then after below these screenshots, which shows Sanji and Vegeta attacking Sabo, it's basically showing off a trade-off, which you can do some sort of combinations. And it says stamina gauge, technique gauge, and the awakening gauge is shared by the team. And that's essentially, I mean, we already knew that. The awakening gauge is the gauge around the player's health, which I'll show you in a minute on another tab. We also have the stamina gauge, which can also be referred to as the health gauge, which is the green bar up here. It turns orange when you start taking more damage. And then after, we also have the technique gauge, which is this bar. It has 5 charges, and I'll get into that more specifically in a few minutes. But if we continue going down, we get to the awakening page, which says get familiar with all the awakenings, and it first shows up off Naruto using his ultimate when he uses the tailed beast bomb, and it says when the awakening gauge is filled, a super powerful awakening technique can be used. It can also be used while in an awakened state, powering up even more. And then we get to see some of those awakenings down here. And it shows off, for example, you can have multiple awakenings with Vegeta, as an example, with Super Saiyan after he goes Super Saiyan Blue. Or you can also have another awakening, such as Ichigo going into his Horn of Salvation mode. And we also have Yusuke's demon form. And the text under that says, depending on the character, the appearance of the character can change, as shown with Ichigo and Yusuke, and also, I guess, with Vegeta's hair. A single transformation can turn the tide of the fight. Furthermore, use an all-out awakening attack to fight with all 3 characters at once. And so, you know, that's pretty cool. The 3 characters at once thing, I believe, is activated by pressing R3 on PS4, and then after it's probably just the right analog stick on Xbox. I don't know what the control scheme is for Xbox since I don't play on Xbox. Now if we continue scrolling down, on this one, it says realistic battle damage. Obviously we know about battle damage since Gon and Hisoka's confirmation. It says not only is the battlefield and techniques realistically reproduced, but the characters receive battle damage as they fight. As the battle unfolds, the characters' outfits receive damage. So, it's pretty standard. It's really nice to see because it actually adds some realism as this game is going for, and also just makes it feel like you're actually in a serious fight. And then our last section on this page, it says cause destruction and move to a new arena or area with a powerful hit. And then on here it shows Seiya hitting Shiryu, some destruction on this stage. I believe this is the Alps. And it says under this, hitting a specific attack during the battle will cause destruction in the surrounding area. And here it also shows off Hong Kong, Hopefully they fix the frame rate. I'm sure they have. For example, in Hong Kong, the enemy will be blown away into distant buildings. The battle moving to a new area as you pursue the enemy. Pay close attention to the destructive power. So we'll be getting more into stage transitions and stuff soon, but it's just giving you an overall view of the basic combat rules, which is what this tab is labeled. So if we go to the next one, this one is how to read the screen, and this is talking about all the different bars. So the first one is the awakening gauge. The second one is the strength gauge. This one is the technical gauge. Sorry, this one is the health gauge. I read that wrong. This is the health, power, whatever. This is your health bar. If it depletes to 0, you'll die. This is the friend gauge, otherwise known as your supports, and the other characters you can switch between, and the movement gauge. This one is actually probably the hardest to see alongside the awakening gauge. But if we scroll down, the first one they go into detail, awakening gauge. When you get damage, it accumulates. So you can't actually build this really by yourself. You have to actually take damage from the opponent, which actually, I wouldn't say incentivizes you to take damage, but it prevents people from just spamming their ultimates. Once it is more than half, you will be able to use an awakening technique. Once it's full, you can awaken. So the difference between an awakening technique and an awakening technique is essentially your ultimate. We don't really have ultimates in this game, but awakening techniques are your ultimates. And then it says, caveat, after awakening, it decreases over time. And once it depletes, you exit your awakening form. So you can't stay in awakening forever, but you'll see this bar around your character icon. It'll start from here and go clockwise, so basically that 3 o'clock position, go clockwise all the way until it reaches 3 again. And once you activate your awakening, I believe that's by R1 and X or I forget how you awaken. I'll remember when we go back to play the beta. But I digress. It'll just slowly decrease like this, and then until we get back to 0, where we have to rebuild it back up by taking damage. So this one says the health gauge. If depleted completely, you lose. Pretty obvious. Health is shared by the team. Now, I know people don't like that. That's not changing, apparently, so people are going to have to deal with it. Health is shared by the entire team, so you can't just switch out to another character and have full health with that character. This one, 3, technical gauge. It's a gauge for techniques. Hit enemies with techniques or absorb the enemy's attacks. So you can use these bars, I believe it goes up to 5, to either attack enemies with either R1 square, R1 in triangle, R1 in circle, or you can use these bars to basically absorb damage and avoid taking damage. And then it continues on to say, you can accumulate this gauge by charging up. And that's pretty standard in most fighting games. There is some sort of charging mechanic. Also, if the gauge is below 1, it will fill automatically. So, you don't have to worry about getting it to 1 while you're in battle. It will charge automatically, but once it hits 1, I believe you have to charge it up manually. And then, 4th one says friends cool time. So basically the cooldown timer for when you can use friends. After switching with friends, which is the rest of your team, a timer will show up showcasing when you'll be able to call on support again. So essentially when you switch to, let's say, I think this is Goku. If you switch from Goku to Luffy, there will be a cooldown timer on Naruto and Goku for how long you'll be able to wait until you can use them again. And it's pretty standard. I believe it just starts from here and goes up until it's full, and then you can use them. And the last one is the movement gauge. It's a gauge used for chasing and escaping. When the gauge runs out, you can't chase or escape for a period of time. And this one I feel is probably the hardest to see on the menu and on the HUD, because it's just sort of separate from everything else, and also sort of small. It sort of looks like a loading circle, and so some people might just disregard it. So make sure you look at this when you play the game. I know I didn't really pay too much attention to this little bar when I was playing the closed beta, so when you play the open beta and when you play the full release of the game, make sure you pay attention to this. On the next page, we have Special Action, and this first one is about fast counterattacks. So on PS4, to do it, you right before your opponent attacks, you press the square button. On Xbox, just before the attack, you press the X button. And it also wants to clarify that you can do this in the air, which is really good to know. And so right here it says, right before the attack, immediately fight back. And so it's a pretty decent mechanic, so you can't just have people comboing you constantly. And then it says activate by pressing the button just before the opponent's rush, smash, or heavy attack. So it can essentially be used on almost anything. Take the opponent's attack and counterattack immediately, and then you send them flying. So it's just explaining the process. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know why they broke it up into 3 different segments, but for those that needed there you go. And then we also have the quick dodge movement. On PS4, you hit the R1 button just before the attack lands from the opponent. On Xbox One, you hit the RB button just before the attack lands. And this can also be done in the air, just like the fast counterattack. And so you can avoid attacks quickly, just like this says. And then down here, it just does the same thing that the previous one, the fast counterattack, said, which was used to avoid the opponent's fast attack. Unlike the fast counterattack, you can't activate this while being attacked. So you can only do this right before an attack. And if you're in the middle of a combo, you're out of luck. So don't try to do this when you're being attacked. Just do it right before somebody tries to start comboing you. If somebody tries to combo you, teleport behind them, start attacking them, and you'll be in it for a good time. Our last section is area movement and area destruction. The area movement and area destruction is the same exact text from up here. It can be used when the awakening gauge is lit, 50% or more. Now this is something that I really could have used in the closed beta, because I kept constantly trying to do stage transitions in the closed beta and I couldn't do it until I'm like, wait a minute, they're only happening when my awakening gauge is at least 50% full. And then I tested it and it's like, oh crap, that's actually how you do it. And they just don't tell you how to do it in the beta, and I doubt they're going to tell you in the full game, so this is really good information. So to start off, you land a heavy smash. Then secondly, immediately after, you hit another smash attack. So you have to do 2 smash attacks in a row. The first one has to be a heavy smash specifically. And then the area movement and area destruction occurs. So the effects of the area movement / area destruction, will start with area movement. And on this side, it says reduce opponent's awakening gauge. That's actually really useful. Second one is after the move, you can continue your attack. So basically, once the movement has occurred, afterwards you'll be able to start attacking while you're falling into the other stage. And then your technique gauge also increases. So you know that bar that has 1 through 5 charges? Yeah, that will increase if you have less than 5. And then on this side is the area destruction. And these are the things that happen when you do an area destruction, which is reduce opponent's awakening gauge, same as the other side. Incapacitate the opponent for a certain amount of time, so basically you'll leave them defenseless for you to attack them. Your technique gauge increases, much like the other side, and also it forces the opponent to switch, which I never experienced in the beta, but maybe that's actually a thing. Or maybe I just didn't pay attention during the beta, and that actually is a thing. But I digress. At the very bottom it says, movement and destruction will vary depending on the area. Let's try it out. And so yeah, it really depends on which stage you are and where you're going in the stage. So it can really change. But I feel this is probably the most useful tab along with the clarification on the bars, because honestly, I didn't know about the Awakening gauge until after my first beta gameplay, and also about this bar. So I hope these pages were helpful for you to understand, and hopefully me translating it for you guys helped you guys out. Let me know in the comment section if you're excited to play the beta, because honestly, it's coming up fast, it's coming up soon, and hopefully this helped you guys out. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, please leave a like, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe to the channel, and turn on bell notifications so you are alerted whenever I upload. You can also click on the eye icon in the top right hand corner to see some of my recent videos. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video or live stream. Bye!